Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David. I'm your host. Today, I want to talk to the coaches or some of the coaches of the national team. And we want to talk about the reactivation of a coaches association. Let me take time to introduce the panel that will help me do this. My co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome to Said Narada.
Yes, Steve, always a pleasure to be here and in the presence of these esteemed gentlemen. Welcome you guys to the show.
Next to Narada is Clayton Morris. Clayton, welcome to the set.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. It's always a pleasure to team up with you, Steve David.
I haven't seen you in a while. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Thank you for dressing up to come to the show, buddy. And next to me is Wayne Shepard. Welcome to the set, Wayne.
Thanks for having us. I think what we have to say today would be really important, and I appreciate the platform to share the information.
Not a problem, anytime. And Richard Hood. Welcome to the set, Richard.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having us here today. And Narada spoke about esteemed company. I would like to share his view to be being in such an icon as yourself,
Yeah,
correct.
and being in your company.
Right.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys for coming today and to share your story and to enlighten us in the drive that you're on right now with this coaches association that has been, you want to reactivate because it's been here for many, many years before. And today is the first day I know about this. So I would listen to what you have to say. Wayne,
Yeah.
I would let you set the platform for us on what the discussion today would be.
All right. As you alluded to, we are trying to reactivate the Coaches Association of Trinidad and Tobago. The recent past history has shown us that the coaches of Trinidad and Tobago have no voice. And although being what I see as a key stakeholder in the promotion, the moving the game forward in Trinidad and Tobago, I think that it is a disservice not only to coaches, but to the football on the whole, that we don't have a voice. And when I say a voice, people have seen us in the recent past on TV having to be activists in terms of salaries. But I think it's a lot more than that. That is just one aspect of the thing. I think the greater part of it is that coaches have a unique position in the game, in that for most of us, we have played at some level.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone on to educate ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we are the ones who can bring the talent forward. Now, we understand that the Football Association has an overarching view of the game. But we, as I said, sit in a unique position where if they were to tap into us for information, we could drive the game forward as we see fit. And when I say as we see fit in terms of what is going on in the world, all right? When the Football Association makes plans for teams, these are administrators. Are they interfacing or interacting with coaches who are doing the actual teaching? Because that is what a coach is. A coach is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So does the Ministry of Education, for example, make plans without touching base with tutor? That would make sense.
Right.
So we're not asking to manage the football of Trinidad and Tobago, but there is a channel, there's an aspect of it that we must be consulted on if we really want this thing to move forward, how it's supposed to move forward. So I think this is why we've brought some minds together. Again, it is against the backdrop of not having been paid, and that's where, if we're real, that is where most people with short-term vision see this. But with the guys that are here and some of the other coaches, we see it bigger as that, and it's a great opportunity throughout all the turmoil that is going on right now, this is a very good opportunity for us to start to shape the thing as it is supposed to be done. So,
Okay, my question to any one of you could answer is, does the Coaches Association have like a vote? Like we have Referees Association, we have Veterans Association. Is the Coaches Association part of the TTFA that has a vote in elections and all the different things?
yes, it does. I know it doesn't. So, let me expand on that. In the past, they have had a vote, but because of inactivity, that has been taken away, right? It's no longer a vibrant body. It's no longer an existing body. It may be a body on paper, but it's not an existing body on the board. So there isn't a vote. One of our main goals is to put things in place where we can now reapply for admission and have a seat at the table where, again, as I pointed out before, our views and our ideas can help shape the game and shape Trinidad's football going forward.
So Clayton, who is the driver on this bus, you or Richard?
Richard for now. I'm here
Okay,
just to
tell me.
share my experience as one of the coaches who has been victimized over the years for, speaking out. So I welcome the Coaches Association. Angus Eve called me about 3 weeks prior to the position we took to take the letter to the normalization committee. And I went for it because, for the experience, I was blacklisted twice on 2 occasions. And, most of the times people see the coaches or you see somebody come out and take a stand and it's always about, they see the dollar sign that we are standing up there for. But this is more than that. There's 2 main things I see, the respect and also to help the development of the sport. This Coaches Association can help. I'm coaching at players who just come out of the secondary school, and some of the basic techniques, these guys don't have it. So this Coaches Association could adjust those things. And in the long term, help the bigger picture, help Trinidad and Tobago football develop. So it's not just that Clayton Morris and Angus Eve and Wayne Shepherd and Richard Hood out there, they're looking for a dollar. It's bigger than that, right? As I said, it's for the respect for what we do, the role that we play as coaches, as Richard Shepherd mentioned, as teachers, there it is, you're making decisions and some of the main stakeholders, the coaches, not involved. And when you look at it, you have a staff. Who outlines work for the staff? It's the coach. You would have a manager, but it's the coach outlined everything. So the coaching role is very, very important. So we see this revamping of the Coaches Association very, very important for taking football forward. So it's not just one aspect. They want their money, so they come out there and it's not about that. People always see that, because it was in one of these social thing. Look at them again, they're looking for a dollar. And they don't see the really important, the value of it. Because if you I played. And when you on the team, you just think about your game. As a coach, you have to think about all the players. Nights you're not sleeping, you have to continue to be thinking for these players. So the job is you can't reward a coach for the kind of work and effort you put out.
So Richard, if I was out there and how does people jump into this, or are you guys going out to recruit players? Because I might want to be a coach again, right?
Sure.
So how does that happen?
All right. Well, we are in the process of formalizing the association as it is right now. It is open to any coach in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not just about the national coaches, it's about coaches from all levels. And I think one of the things that I believe should be one of the driving force behind this association is the coaching education. All right. Clayton spoke just now about players coming to him with the inability to control and pass the ball as we expect at the level. And we need to improve the knowledge of our coaches. We need to bring them at a international standard. And the Coaches Association would help drive that kind of impetus into the sport. All right. From the women's perspective, on the women's side, as a national coach, we have to, as coaches, actually teach the players every aspect of the game. The technical part, the tactical part. We expect to work with the tactical and the physical part, but the technical part particularly. All right. When they come to us, they are now learning to play the game, and that's the difficulty. And I think if we increase and improve the knowledge of the coaches, all right, it would go a long way in alleviating that situation.
If I could just build on Richard's point there. Yes, the Coaches Association can deal with that from an educational point of view, but we can also deal with that from a structural point of view. So if we, as again, and I will harp on this, the position we sit in, if we can advise the Football Association by having a seat on the board and saying, listen, the situation with the women's game is that we probably need to have some more leagues. We need to have some ID camps. We need to go around, we need to scout. And I'm using the women's game as an example, but this extends across the board. Right? Time and time again, you see teams, we have a tournament and teams are brought together. If brought together in a short space of time, not properly, can't be properly prepared. If it is, you have certain structures in place going on around the country, then you could bring the players together in that same short space of time, and you will get a better output. Not wanting to look at the neighbor, but the USA is infinitely bigger than us. And yet they could bring their teams together in a short space of time to play because there is a Bible that they coach from. I use the term Bible. There is a curriculum that they teach from. So a right back in Florida is doing the same thing, learning the same thing. A right back at age 15 can do the same thing as a right back in Alaska. It is just who is the better player. They pull, and they bring them together. Now Trinidad is so much smaller. Why can't we be doing the same thing? And these are things that we feel we could bring to, having an association, we can add to the fabric that is Trinidad and Tobago's football.
Narada, before I let you get into this, I got one question for you guys again. Do you have to be a member at the Coaches Association to be a coach? And how do you become a member when that time happens? Either one of you guys can answer the question.
As it is right now, where we are at, we are going through the process of registering the association.
Okay.
Right? We have a draft constitution right now. Our plan is to have it properly registered, have elections, have officers in place, democratically put in place. So because Clayton and Richard are here, doesn't mean that Clayton, Richard, or myself, or Angus, or whoever would be the people selected as the officers because we started it, right? We want to have elections. We want to go through the Constitution, tighten up certain things in it, and then we extend. Well, we have already gone through the process of getting a list of all the secondary school coaches. We have people all over the country who have been spreading the word. So the application forms go out. Anybody can join. What I see, and again, now this is Wayne Shepherd speaking here, and this is not the association because we still have things that we need to iron out. But I see that to be a coach at any level in Trinidad and Tobago, there are some basic requirements that you need to have. Right? The day when a guy may be doing a good in a community, but if it is he is really interested in the game, then he needs to up his education, right? So there are things that we want to do, and to do that, now if we're saying that, then the status quo cannot be as it is, where to get a license, you have to sit and hope that that you get invited, because I can speak from personal experience. I sent all my stuff into TTFA when I was starting coaching. I never played at the level as these guys. I played at national youth level. And I was told, yes, we have the application. We'll let you know when there's a program. And about a month later, I was home having dinner, and I saw TTFA has a program going on. So I was never selected. I had to go away to do my first badge. And that isn't available to everybody. So we want to have badges available, courses available, easily accessible, even online learning. These are the things that we want to be going at, because a rising tide raises all ships. If we get all the coaches up to a certain level, then that means all the players will be getting a certain level of coaching. And the game can only go forward from there.
Did you catch that, Narada? Rising tide raises all ships?
Yes.
I hope you remember that.
That's
But...
an analogy. Yeah.
All right.
I think, congratulations to the guys on spearheading this. It's something that has been inactive for a long period, and I do agree that they're an important stakeholder that should have a seat on the table. However, respecting that, it would also be wise, and I'm sure you all have done it, to look into what were the deficiencies of the previous incarnations of said coaching association. What wasn't there to stimulate the coaches? Why, maybe I'm just using an example, why some of you may not have gone into the association, or when you all wanted to be part of it, what was missing? Because I'm always of the opinion that it always had to have something in it for the coaches to motivate them, simply because it's not something that is in us, it's not a habit that we have. So what is going to happen for you to get that set of ships on the tide? You're going to have, everybody needs to be stimulated in order to do so, until it becomes common practice for them to know, okay, this is just the way it goes and this is how you get into coaching. So I would just ask, what may be some of the avenues you may have looked into after we come back from the break that could be able to stimulate persons and coaches and young people to get involved in the coaching association.
Okay, we will allow you to answer when we get back. Viewers, we'll be right back after this short break.
Told Angus. Well, Angus actually called me while I was visiting him. He said, well, when you finish, you could write a book. And these are some of the things we spoke about, and this is why we want to assure the coaches to life after coaching. This association, you have assurance that we'll be looking out for you also.
Richard, before just giving you some heads up, to get something like this going.
We, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Narada, you'd ask a question for either one of you guys to respond to.
So what do you think? So what are some of the mechanisms that you may put in place to stimulate, the coaches actually coming and staying on, opposed to just coming in? Because I believe for longevity, for this thing to survive, something very early would be, we could run a coaching course. Everybody would come, cool. But what makes the coach stay on board? Something I would say, just to throw it out, would be, we're seeing the issues arising now where salaries are being not, paid, and you're having to go into legal action. And these are some of the things you would probably have to offer as services in order for coaches to realize what is the plus in signing up with you guys.
There are a number of things. I wouldn't really want to get into depth in all this stuff. But if I could, you touched on a couple of things there. Coaches, and Clayton said it at the inception, coaches have never had a unified voice, really and truly. So a coach experiencing certain issues is that a coach has to speak on his own and everybody sits back and looks at him, and then we know what happens in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Beyond the education and the unified voice, things like insurance for coaches, the education is an important part for me because education is an ongoing thing. Just driving down here, myself and Richard was speaking about how it is important that you continue learning in this game. You never know and stop, right? But when you've done a C license and a B license here in Trinidad, what can you do? All right, the options are to go away. Why can't we now not talk to different consulates, to the Ministry of Education, to the Ministry of Sports, and see if we could work out something where we could get coaches to come here? And when I say here, I don't mean come to Trinidad. There are coaches in Tobago too. Come here, do a course for coaches in Trinidad, you get certified. Do one in Tobago. And we have this where you have to get certified, we get recertified, just as in the big countries, every 2 years or 3 years, you have that going. Opportunities for coaches to go abroad, to go and sit with national teams in, let's say, in Holland or clubs, that sort of thing. I did that, but I had to dip into my own pocket to do that. This is something, if we want to get this thing going, and when I say this thing, I'm talking about the game, we need a vibrant coaching association who's going to take the game, the product, who is going to enhance the product. The importance of enhancing the product is, how do you get money in football? You need to get corporate Trinidad, you need to get investors. If I have a good product, then I get this. So I think there are a number of things that should interest coaches, not just, as I said, not just the aspect of if I have a money issue around here, because we will be dealing with those things, for sure, right? But it must extend beyond that. And it's not just about Narada, it's not just about me interesting you to join. If you really want to be the best coach that you could be, if you want to improve your game, then just a conversation with Clayton Morris, just a conversation with a Hayden Martin, with Hood.
Correct.
Right? These are things that networking will raise the level of coaching. It's not about I know something and it's a secret for me. It's about sharing education. So a proper association, proper access to education, a proper access to promoting yourself as a coach. I think all of those things are benefits that should attract any coach.
This is for Richard or Clayton?
In addition to
What he says?
Wayne's
Okay.
contribution, we're looking at life after sport.
Correct.
You know, people will look at your finished play and then you get into coaching. But after coaching, you have to live. So we want to be able, to assure people too, when you finish coach, this association will be looking out for you. Right now, our main thing, we're trying to look to put a little package together and present to you. have Jimmy Bland, you have Errol McFarlane, right? Those two were coaches who give human service to Trinidad and Tobago. So this is where you're looking life after coaching, so to speak. And also the initiatives like going into communities and doing outreach in these high-risk communities. You know what it is to have an Angasif come into, the Beetham Estate or Maloney and these areas where the quote unquote, the crime is high, to do a coaching session. Because just, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when, God rest his soul, Nathan Julian was shot, I went up there to pay respect to his mom. And it was big on YouTube. Imagine Clayton Morris passed through our community. So you know what it is? These are the things we're looking at. So it's not just, these are the different we want to bring. Because I had a chat with Paulie Regis. You all know who's Paulie Regis. He's 90 think it's 95 or 96 years, who has been around football. And he's one of the person who initiated the first Players Association. So I went and visited him the other day, and he was giving me a whole history. So then, these are called Angus, and I told Angus, well, Angus actually called me while I was visiting him. He said, well, when you finish, you could write a book. And these are some of the things we spoke about, and this is why we want to assure the coaches to life after coaching. This association, you have assurance that we'll be looking out for you also.
Richard, before just giving you some heads up, to get something like this going, it would take real dedication to a few people. It might be maybe one or two people really driving this bus. Otherwise, it would fall apart again. Mm-hmm. And somebody has to, who is that going to be, you?
Well, I wouldn't say it would be me, but I think we have, at the moment, 5 people that we refer to as the steering committee. All right, it would be the 3 of us here, Angus and Jefferson George. All right?
Jefferson, okay.
Yeah, so we are the ones who have taken the lead in the project at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think Wayne alluded to the fact that we are going to have elections, and we're going to have a democratically elected body to run the program when we are finished. We are at the moment, we're very much in the genesis stage of the thing. We are looking at best practice, right, throughout the world. We have had Mr. Osman Dongna as the man driving the constitution. We are looking to make sure that everything we do, right, again, to use the terminology, best practice, right, so that we are not questioned. We are very much guaranteed that we have placed ourselves in a really good position to drive this thing going forward.
And the only reason I'm saying this is similar with the Veterans Association. It was one person who really keep this thing going. And right now, it's still one person, not the same, but one person who really keeps this going, because it's very hard to get these guys to come together.
I don't know if Mr. Eve may have remembered, but I had sent out something on my personal opinion, and it's not to, it's more or less to encapsulate what Steve is saying. And I believe because in Trinidad for years and years, we do this thing where we're not understanding the long-term vision of it. And it's only when I think the problems arise, then everyone sees the necessity. You all may have been fortunate that I've heard the conversation happen with Mr. Eve before, on the Coaches Association. We've had conversations on it before. And I was saying that you have to find a way to ensure that the problem becomes a Trinidad and Tobago, a national problem, and not just limited to football. Why? Because coaches across the board have been suffering the same injustices time and time again. Football may be a little more relevant today, or at least it comes out more in the media a lot. But I could speak on other sporting disciplines that have experienced the same thing. And what happens is, now and then we need to have different segments come in and being involved in it in order to make it a national problem. So everybody is, if something happens to Mr. Morris, an injustice, I should be hearing the other sporting fraternities clamoring and saying, hey, that's an injustice. Look, cycling, we experience the same thing. And somebody, so it's a drive until we reach the point where everything could be compartmentalized. Because what we would have happening sometimes is half the population isn't really support football. They're on the cricket side. And then it starts to break down into a section, into the football of a section. And, so you need to ensure that the more people get involved. And that's why I am applauding you guys on trying to get as much people as possible, because I think with more persons means more opportunity and more access and more knowledge. Because if you have 20 persons who played abroad as part of the coaching association, they probably have 20 opportunities to get coaches out there. Mm-hmm. And it's not limited to just Clayton saying, well, I know 2 friends who are coaches, let me give them it. He now could bring it to the table, and the association could now say, we have this opportunity, who is willing to take it? And you may get 20 or 10 persons, because now it's open to a wider demographic opposed to just limited to a small body. So I would also encourage you guys to get some support from all the other sporting disciplines in going forward with this, association that you all are pushing, because the voice of X sport that may have a easier connection with persons in the corporate society, because right now football has a light on it that doesn't look too bright. And you want to get these same stakeholders involved, but maybe you have to get it by, circumventing with other persons, not necessarily bringing them in, because I understand what football's struggles are, but getting them to at least put their support and their 2 cents on the organization.
If I could just say, that's interesting that you said that, because just last week, I had a conversation with, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, with Anthony Macano,
Right.
who is a national hockey coach.
Yeah.
He's also a lecturer with, international lecturer with the Olympic Association, with TTOC and that sort of thing. And he actually called me to ask me what were my views on a national coaching association on football joining that. And we spoke and we saw, you highlighted some benefits there. We spoke about learning benefits in terms of he is very big on the technologies, on GPS tracking, on videography and that kind of using video for training purposes and that sort of thing. And we spoke about that being cross-platform in terms of across the different associations. So yes, I totally agree with you, and that is the avenue of thought that we want to capture as well. We want not just to be, yes, we are the Football Coaches Association. That may not be the exact name.
I know, understood.
But we want on a national level, at least at first, because it may be difficult to get it on all levels, but at least on a national level, you have all the coaching associations coming together, and then you filter that down. There's strength in numbers.
Correct. And I would just say, because I always use that because of a standard thing in my time in Brazil, is that every coach it's just in coaching, has to have a degree in physical education. Now, I always tell people this, and I always hold back to say, I'm not saying that you have to have a degree, because in Trinidad, what they do it because physical education is almost in all the universities, whether public or private. But what they do, if you are coaching and you don't have it, your assistant coach or somebody in the management should have it. Because what happens is they want that person to be able to deal with psychology, the fact that, just as you said, the education, the fact that you're dealing with kids, the technical aspects, the anatomy, the physiology, at least you have that knowledge. So even if I don't have it, my assistant has it, he's able to ensure my program is captivating all of that. And from a standard, the parents are able to now feel comfortable when introducing their kids to sport because the person has some basic level of understanding. Right?
Steve, I just want to go back to one of the question you asked, what can we do to keep the coaches, involved? Now, we as coaches, we have to motivate the players that come before us. But who guards the guard? Who motivates us?
Correct.
And the education part, we must get people to do the psychological part with the coaches. And one of those things is for you to get within yourself, why am I coaching? What it is that gives me that energy and that drive to keep that passion to keep coaching. And if you ask yourself that question, for me, I found it out. There's my purpose. So anything else will follow.
Right.
And this is what we have to do, get the coaches to understand first, why am I here? Then that will concrete whether I should stay in a coaches association, whether I should join or should I continue. We have to ask ourselves that, because the people or parents, whoever, children that we responsible, they look up to us, right? And all of us will dig in ourselves, and there's something that keeps us doing this. Because people ask me, Clitmore, you again? Oh, you continue doing this? But again, it's because of the purpose. I found my purpose on this earth, and these are the things we have to do psychologically with the coaches so that we could get them to stay. And this is the council, the name of the
Trinidad and Tobago
Football Coaches Council, because there's some other name with association, so we got blocked, right? So this council could move forward. It was initiated in 1968, but
So since
2020
then,
we're going forward.
That's before my time. But you guys' toughest thing is really to to keep books or to keep this going, to get dues, because I'm sure people are going to have to pay dues to initially to get this going. And that is going to be a task, and you guys got to be ready for that kind of stuff.
I would say that is something that I am sure you all have encountered, and I've heard it from persons who have spoken to me on this topic, is that, just as you said, strength in numbers. I think, one, I applaud the fact that you all are going after a slight name change. I would actually say it's a blessing, because I think sometimes when things for a long period have been associated with not necessarily the best progress, the rebranding and stuff could always help. I know from Mr. Eve's experience is that a lot of the foreign member associations always are looking forward to partnerships with other countries in assisting, whether it's, the European wanting to be the big brother who assisted your development. There are departments of whether it be the United Nations, whether it be, some of these NGO bodies internationally that do have a part for coaching, child education, sport education, where with an association, and you all have the right persons who are taking the time to dedicate to find these, programs and take the initiative to actually apply to them to then get funding. So persons who are making their dues, because we know it has to be within a certain bracket, could see bigger benefits than the contribution they're making.
All right, we need to take a break. We'll be right back.
Why quality is not coming through? They have not had a reserve league for about 5 years. Right, so a player finishing finishing school, but he has to be able. He have to have the ability to go into a pro team or a top team. Right, and if he doesn't reach that development level, what is he going to do? What level of football is he playing? Right, so we had to look at the whole.
We, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. As usual, we, as men, we always talk and we don't think about the women as much. We do, but
Speak for
sometimes we
yourself,
just
Steve.
forget to mention them. So I'm going to point this right at Richard, because Richard is a woman's coach. So maybe you don't know, but the others might. But is there women involved in this, or how we plan to incorporate them into all this?
I would say at the initial stage there aren't women involved, but of course there are women coaches. All right. We can think of Donald Maskell is attached to the staff of the. I think she's probably the only one at the moment attached to the women's staff, and it's something that I believe is a bit lacking, in our organization. All right, we need to get some of the players who have retired, getting involved in passing on whatever experiences that they would have had as national players, getting into the coaching aspect of the thing as well. All right. I think one of the things that we would have talked about, we talk about coaches, but I think nobody mentioned the fact that we are dealing with all technical staff, not only the coaches.
Correct.
All right. And of course, there are female equipment people, physios, etc. as well.
Managers.
We are inviting all these people to join us as well. All right. But back to the woman on the women's side. I think I alluded to earlier, where players come to the table, and at the stage where we get them, their development isn't what it ought to be for a national program. All right, and I think one of the big things with that is that we start our players way too late. I coached at secondary school level from probably 1998 to about 2007 thereabouts, a girls team, Providence Girls. They were very successful. However, what we found is that players now coming into the secondary school now learning to play. This is their first experience at football, all right? And really, if we want to start to challenge the USAs and the Mexicos, etc., we need to start our kids much younger, our girls particularly, all right? The other thing about it is, what is there for girls to encourage them to play football? There are no leagues. All right? You have the Wolf League, which runs for a couple of months for the year. Other than that, there's the secondary school league, but what else? But on the male side, there's the Pro League, there's the National League, etc. Boys are playing football all the time. Boys are sweating here, sweating there. Girls don't do that. All right? So it becomes now the responsibility of the FA to produce the young players, right? And it should not be. They should come to us with a certain level of ability, all right? But that's the unfortunate situation that we are in this country, good? So we need to, and I would think that one of the things that the association can do, right, is assist the FA in driving towards, or helping assist with the program development of what it is that we need to do to bring our players through from the infant stage all the way up to through all the stages of national youth football onto National League. Look at another example of some of the things that I believe we have been faltering with, and I'm just drifting away a little bit to the male side. We have the Pro League. For the past 3 years, the Pro League, Youth Pro League, has played one round of football. One round of football. That's all the football they have played. And that's ridiculous, right? And we are wondering why players are not coming through, why quality is not coming through. They have not had a reserve league for about 5 years, right? So a player finishing finishing school, good, he has to be able, he have to have the ability to go into a pro team or a top team, right? And if he doesn't reach that development level, what is he going to do? What level of football is he playing, right? So we had to look at the whole picture where football is concerned, and I think certainly the association can assist in that regard.
I'm glad you brought that up because, when we were forming the Veterans Association, and I talked to them and I said, let's try to run a national youth program throughout the country, like how AYS, or American Youth Soccer Organization, runs that whole thing throughout the whole U.S. and to give us something to do. So similar, you guys might want to think about maybe running a women's or a football for the younger ones. Yeah. Something to give you a reason.
I agree.
Function.
I think it's an opportunity, and I'll touch on 3 things. If we go with the coaching, it's an opportunity where once the support is given, whether from a financial or the persons involved, for you all to now create avenues for coaches to gain experience if they did not technically align with a club per se. We all know a club is as big as the organization is, may only have 2 or up to 10, 20 coaches, depending on how big it is. But what about if you have an influx of coaches who now have nothing? They can't do it on their own. With you all creating a league, just saying, you could now use that for them to gain experience or for you to teach whatever knowledge you may pass on if they don't have all the qualifications. I also like what Mr. Hood touched on in terms of the young ladies being introduced to football. I think why they're not being introduced at an early stage is because some of the mechanisms and infrastructure that should be in place is not there, because the administrators, they're not necessarily on the ground. The players can't really say everything they need and expect the administrators to listen to them. You all are the kind of link where you could take what the player is suggesting, see what the parents said, and then now translate this information to the coach, because something as simple as a field just not having toilet facilities, nobody's carrying their girl child there. You may take a risk with the boy here and there. The safety aspect. People are more protective of our women, so therefore you can't just pick up and run a tournament just because you have funds in any facility if you don't have these basic needs. And the women speak, they say what they need, and you all are the first persons here, and you all are mentors, teachers, psychologists, counselors to a very, sensitive age group and gender that you all are the best persons to interact and communicate that information,
Where do you guys have meetings and stuff? So for information out there, so we can put it out to the people.
Zoom?
Correct.
Especially in this time.
Right now, meetings so far, we had one meeting at my house.
Right.
And the rest of the meetings so far have been virtual meetings via Zoom. After that, once we have met and discussed, and I'd just like to add that the way forward and the decisions that we've made so far haven't been in a vacuum. It hasn't been us alone. We have lent on legal minds to get guidance. As Clayton and Richard spoke already, we've gone in the direction of Mr. Downer with assistance with the Constitution. Financial information, we've lent on people there. So once we've gathered information, we would then disseminate the information via a WhatsApp group. Now, again, all of this is in the infancy. Yeah. Once we have the paperwork done, once we have the Constitution ready and we have the elections, we have already had discussions with somebody at the Ministry of Sport concerning office space for us. Because I don't see this association as being, this has to be taken seriously. I don't see it being, all right, Sheppy, you do so and so. And no, there has to be a secretary, there has to be people, there has to be staff aligned with this. And I'm saying all of this now so that the governing powers, not just the TTFA, but the Ministry of Education and Sport and whoever else has to understand. This isn't about, as big as he is, this isn't about Clayton Morris or Angus Eve or Richard Hood or Little Me. This isn't about that. This is about the game. This is about moving Trinidad in the direction where we're supposed to be. Right? I grew up when you were playing, so you're a little older than me, although you might look it. But I grew up with Trinidad and Tobago being the team in the English-speaking Caribbean.
Right.
And challenging, and in some cases, beating other teams that we're not supposed to. And now we are a long way from that. And this association is part of the way back. It's a main part of the way back. So it has to be seen as the powers above have to see that, hey, this is something that we need to invest in, we need to be part of, because there are so many avenues. I'm listening to Narada speak just now. There's so many avenues here from just this association. Richard said that it's not just coaches, and it isn't. It is every aspect of our technical staff we want to represent. So therefore, a team psychologist, there's an avenue now for people. If I am a child growing up, studying and things, I like sports, I may not be able to make it as a player, but I could see that there's an avenue that I can go here. So there's so many things that those in the decision-making positions in Trinidad and Tobago, in government, in TTFA, can do to make this thing grow and be the force that it needs to be. So we're going to be knocking on doors. We are going to be very vocal in driving this thing forward. And luckily for myself, because Angus is the person who, just like Clayton, he came to me about it. But I have always looked and never seen the personnel to drive these things forward. And luckily now, the four gentlemen besides myself, when I listen to them talk, I realize, listen, we have a unique opportunity here to get this thing forward. Just as you both alluded to, everybody is not going to be on this trip. There are people, and this is human nature, and we have to accept this. There are people here who, as soon as we get our outstanding salaries, they're going to say bye and go, right? We prepared for that because we are structuring this thing to last. This, I will be very disappointed if when my time comes, when I can't coach anymore, that I turn and can't hand this over to the next generation of
Right.
coaches. I will be very disappointed, and this thing has to continue. It has to grow, and I think we have coming out of all the squabbling that's going on right now, we have a unique opportunity to drive this thing forward.
Sometimes and always they reinvent the wheel. So they had something since back in 1968.
68, that's the
So you guys ever try to
We've
Have
been
you-
talking,
try to
to talk to
get the old stuff or talk to the older
Yeah, well,
people
I
or
told
get
you,
the
I had a-
old
I had a
documents and
meeting,
try to?
I was told that when we applied for the name, it bounced back and it said we couldn't go
Okay.
with that name. So we were searching, and then I spoke with Jimmy Blah, and
Right,
he told me, check Paulie Regis.
right.
It took me about a week and I found him. And he told me that 1968, but again he said, Clayton, I can't tell you where that document is now. But so he told me, well, look, they had it. And then he said, that is all. All he could tell, we had the document, they were paying, they have an account and what have you, but he just couldn't find it. He said he can't put his hand on the document now. So
So you're pretty much reinventing the wheel, kind of.
basically,
Yeah. And going forward. You guys gonna have a task in your hand. You guys got to prepare for that battle. But you have to stay persistent to make it happen, because I know when we talk and then we meet and break up and we leave, everybody is expecting the other person to do all the work. And then we come back to the next meeting and nothing is done.
Yeah, well, we have to be each other's your brother's keeper.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So how we have worked is that we keep each other correct. So that we would meet, we would say, okay, XYZ, this is yours to do, and we would check around and make sure that it is done. And again, I think that we have a good blend,
the
because
personnel.
I am not, and I said this the other day, I was on a conversation with Clayton and a gentleman who we were getting some advice from. And he has dealt with me in the past with coaching with Queen's Park Super League team. We have a really good relationship. And he said, Sheppy, he was saying that Clayton was saying something, and he said, yeah, well, you can't say it as blunt as Sheppy said. And I am not blessed with that subtlety and tact. It's very black and white for me. So if something is wrong, or something is not going how it's supposed to, I will say, these gentlemen help me by taking a different approach. All right? But at the same time, I think my approach is necessary too, because there's no way in pussyfooting around some of the things. We need to get up, and we, being the coaches, we, being Trinidad and Tobago football, we need to put up our hands and say, listen, in the past, it has not been correct. It has not been correct, and we move forward. There's no way of sugarcoating it sometimes. You need to just put up your hand, say, all right, it was wrong, we're going ahead now. And I probably, Angus, you could speak to Angus at some point in time, I probably was the most pessimistic of all the persons that he approached with that. And right now I am the most optimistic, because the need has never been greater.
You know, I can't allow you guys to leave. We're getting to the end, but I can't allow you to leave without asking the question.
Why?
Is the present situation now initiate this thought about a coaches association with what was happening with our coaches and stuff going on?
I mean, the other guys can speak as well.
Yeah.
What I would say is this thought was there before.
Okay.
I know from personal conversations with Angus that this was there before. All right? This was there before elections last year. This was there before that.
So what does Shepherd, not Shepherd, but Hood and
Well, I would
Clayton
say
think about that.
I would say that basically the situation that exists now probably was the impetus that we needed. All right. Certainly, the situation that we met when we went to deliver the letter to the TTFA, that was that. Although as Sheppy said, there were talks before. I had conversations with Angus about this, doing things like this sometime prior to this, but. As we like to say, out of bad, some good comes all the time. All right. So this basically brought us together. All right. And it is now for us to drive it forward and keep it driving forward and make sure that it is sustainable.
All right, guys, I want to thank you for being here.
So you don't want to hear my side?
I got 20 seconds. You can do it in 20 seconds.
Yeah, I could do it in 20 seconds.
Go ahead.
Again, as coaches, you must have a trump card. You have your tactics. And I guess Angus' desperation came about, and we used the tactics to bring it.
make it
Yes,
happen.
it may be we had it on the drawing board, but this was the trump card.
Wish you guys all the best. You have my support, so just make it happen.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Narada, same. Thank you for
Always a
being
pleasure,
here.
Steve.
ACTN, thanks for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, thanks for tuning in. We do we show on a Monday night and repeat on a Tuesday. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out, and we have an email address, fieldofdreamtt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. Show us and go in peace. My name is Steve David.